All right, so let's start. The first question is it more satisfying to be impulsive and gain instant gratification or to be strategic and this in terms of delayed gratification and why? So, in the first podcast, we were talking about how some people, I think it had something related with, or it was something related with how people like sometimes want things like now, as opposed to waiting and achieving maybe something, maybe the same thing, or maybe even, well, typically it has to be better than now. Um, so do you think is it more satisfying to be impulsive or is it more satisfying to be strategic?
Mm, I think that maybe when you do things and you have to um, put an effort on that thing, at the end of the day, what you get is most satisfying because it had like that effort. And when you put that effort in the things that you do, maybe you enjoy the most those things because they cost something for you. But when you do something that is like um, impulsive, maybe you enjoy it for a short time, but that satisfaction goes away easily because they didn't cost you like much.
But I was just thinking that maybe in my case, I like things that like make you feel good in the moment because I understand, like I've worked like probably my for most of my life now because I've been an adult since I was, well, like 18.
Hmm.
I'm 34 now, so that's like 16 years, no?
Hmm.
Yeah, so no, not all my life, but like almost half of my life I've worked with that mentality of being strategic,
Hmm.
right? Um, and honestly, you do get a lot of things because you make an effort, like you say, but you don't see it. Like let's say you work really hard at school, really hard at your job. You have like somewhat stability. Let's say you maybe even get a house or something like that. It's like all of that stuff for me is like in the background, no?
Yeah.
And you don't really feel satisfaction from that because I feel like what maybe does give you satisfaction is being impulsive, like instant gratification. But like you say, the problem there is that it's short lived. It's not that long, it's not that extensive. But that little time of euphoria is worth a lot.
Yeah, I think it depends on you because maybe for some people achieving those goals when they are like when you put a lot of effort on those goals, maybe for some people they are most rewarding than the other that you achieved with an impulsive attitude. But it depends on the person. And because for you, for example, you enjoy the most the things that you do impulsive, but for example in my case, maybe I enjoy the most those things that I have put an effort on them. For example, and I think maybe they are not that exciting because maybe they are a little bit boring, or I don't know. But at the end of the day, those things maybe they are more um, longing, or I don't know, if they last more time than those things that you do with an impulsive act. Because yeah, very exciting, and they are very like, I don't know, they increase your dopamine a lot, co- uh, in co- in like comparando, like
Compared to.
compared to those things that you do with patience and strategic thinking, or I don't know. But I think the reward is more like, I don't know if it is more like rewarding, or it is more like, I don't know how to say, how to express that those things are like more important, or more like that you remember those things because you worked for them. And when you do things like with this impulsive attitude, maybe you already forgot what you did for them, for example, because you can do a lot of things impulsive, and they are meaningless because it costs you like nothing. But in the case of things that are more like with effort, maybe those things you remember the most than the others.
I don't think they're meaningless because I think when you do a lot of impulsive things, it starts to shape your personality. You start to become more relaxed or more how can I say it? Like, yeah, you change. You start to become a different person. Where I can see there being a problem with being spontaneous and impulsive and always looking for instant gratification is that maybe long term you're gonna have bad problems, right? Like imagine someone that's like, I don't care about life, I just want to party and live life.
Mm-hmm.
Like Anna from Inventing Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Like long term, you pay, right? And that means that you will pay either with jail because you're being impulsive, or with your health, or with your relationships, or with your lifestyle. So I think that's also something to consider. um, but yeah, I think you can be a little a little impulsive sometimes to receive things, because if you're always strategic, when are you going to be impulsive? When are you going to be spontaneous? When are you just going to enjoy like the moment? It's almost like impossible. You can no longer enjoy the moment if you're just being strategic all the time and working towards long-term goals or things like that.
I think maybe the key here is to have a balance between those things, because for example, in that case of Anna, what is the thing that you maybe could say that was that thing that she worked the most for? For example, it was for her 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 company she wanted to create, and she had to put a lot of effort on that. uh, in first place, for example, when she had to obtain the money,
The loan, I think.
the loan, the partners, the people important who could want to work with her. And I think if she would like accomplish that, for example, if she would like get that money, get all of that dreams that she wanted to make real, maybe that would have been the one thing that she maybe would enjoy the most, instead of all of those things that she did, like spending a lot of money on clothes, on hotels and all of that things that were impulsive, because this big thing that she worked a lot of her life or whatever, that would have been the only thing that maybe she remember, and that would have been that thing that maybe for her was the most important thing that she accomplished.
Yeah, makes sense.
Uh-huh. And in that case, maybe the other things that she did, like impulsive, maybe those don't matter for her.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to ask you if I can, and you don't have to answer, but I wanted to know, like, what do you do what do you do that's both, because you said you need like a balance between the two.
Mhm.
What do you do, or what do you imagine that's strategic for you, and what do you imagine that's like impulsive for you?
Maybe I am impulsive, but with things that are not important. For example, if I'm like walking on the street and maybe I want some like bread or some antojo, yeah, and I decide to maybe buy something to eat, like, but I know that maybe that thing is not healthy, or that it doesn't help with my weight, lose weight or whatever, but I do it anyway. Yeah, maybe for me those kind of things are the only things that I do for impulsive thinking. But I don't know, because I think I am very like, um, I think a lot about the things that I'm going to do. Yeah, and maybe with important things I think more about them, and maybe I think like with more conscious,
Mhm.
yeah.
More awareness, I
Uh-huh,
guess.
yeah. mm, and for example, strategic things, maybe it has to do with, I don't know, maybe time or money, or managing, like, I don't know if, like, things here in my house, like, um, doing that management about the things that maybe need to put more, like, razonamiento. Yeah.
Yeah, to reason more.
Uh-huh.
True. Okay, so the next question is, does going back to your past work to heal yourself? So this is a question that I have. I want to know what you think about it, because many people say, like, for example, my mom, you have to go back to your past to heal from your traumas, from your problems. How true or how real do you think that is? Or do you think that's not necessary?
I think it is necessary because you need to look to your past to understand your present, for example. But you need to be prepared that um, to do that, like looking in your past or in your memories, to know what of those memories cost you, like the things that maybe are bothering you now. But you need to be prepared, because if you are like very upset or sad, or if you have some mental issue or problem, maybe it is not the best for you to do that, because it could cause you more pain. So you need to go to your past, but maybe with more like being self conscious consciousness, or I don't know,
Yeah.
because if you just go to your past and you like have those like I don't know, if you try to look in your past and you remember or see something that you don't like, maybe it could cause you more sadness or more pain instead of getting better. Yeah. And so you need to do first like an effort on yourself, like understand better yourself, and maybe try to be like objective and more like um, patience with yourself, and maybe caring for yourself, and then you can go to your past, and maybe just in that circumstances, maybe you could like watch those things or remember those things, and maybe they will cause you some pain, but you will be able to watch them as just those, as just things that happened in the past, and maybe try to understand them and not take them from the past and bring them to your future or your present to be more sad or to be more like upset. You can take them in order to begin to heal. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but how do you work on yourself? Like, or how do you know when you've worked on yourself enough for you to be able to go back to your past? And like, how do you know that that will heal you? Because that's weird. Like the way you just express it is, it made me think about that as you grow older, there
Mm-hmm.
are different yous that maybe something that happened to you when you were 7 can affect you negatively, and maybe in 5 years it won't, because you change as a person. And you say your past is your past, or people say your past is your past, but the thing about your past is that you don't always remember it, right? You need to like activate it. But what I think about, like, I don't know how you're able to bring something that's painful
Mm-hmm.
from the past into the present and not let it hurt you. I think what's I think that whatever has the potential to hurt you is gonna hurt you, and it has to hurt you, because healing, supposedly in theory, that's where I'm also asking if that's how you're supposed to do it, or if it even works. But it's like when someone dies and you have to cry and cry and cry until you can't cry anymore. And every time you're crying, it hurts. But eventually you're going to get to the day where you won't cry and it won't hurt, or it won't hurt as much. So I don't think that you need to like prepare yourself, or I don't know, because I'm like, if you know, how are you able to, like, you need to feel that, I think. And they say that's part of the, you need to feel the pain. And you need to feel the pain, possibly like a lot of times. There's just no way around that. So I don't know how you can like prepare yourself for that. And also, how will you also like know for sure that you're healing?
I think the first step to begin to like preparing yourself for that is maybe thinking as like thinking like you for yourself, maybe you are like somebody, yeah, like whoever, yeah, and maybe you can like think this person who is me, yeah, like get out of your own mind and watch yourself as other person, yeah, and watch their their life, or his or her life, like this person lived these things or those things, yeah. Sometimes maybe in her past or his past, maybe there were some things that maybe were like painful, sometimes because of her fault or because of others fault, yeah. But you need to be like, I don't know how to say, compasivo,
Compassionate.
compassionate with that person. And in that moment, that person is not you, it's other person, because you are doing this exercise where you get out of your own body and watch yourself as other person, yeah. And 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 I think you have to be compassionate,
Compassionate.
compassionate, yes, compassionate with that person in order to watch them as a human who maybe made mistakes and will make mistakes. And when you watch yourself as other person, you, I think maybe you are not that hard with him or her, because I think when sometimes we are very hard with ourselves. Sometimes we judge ourselves like, because we think that we need to be perfect, or we have to react in certain ways where you don't leave space to the mistake or to the error, yeah. But if you do this like um, this exercise where you watch yourself as other person, and you think about his life, for example, in your case, and you say, oh, this person, when he was like 17, maybe he made these mistakes, yeah, sometimes because he caused them, and maybe sometimes because other persons, like other person maybe hurt him, yeah. And I think just with this small exercise you can like start healing, because you are not being like hard with yourself. And maybe when you start doing this, you when you like maybe mm, make some mistake in the future, or I don't know, maybe in those cases you won't be like that hard, because you already did this exercise before, yeah. And I think that that is a good way to start healing. And maybe when, if you do this exercise, maybe in the future when you want to go to your past and see what went wrong, and maybe sometimes those things went wrong because of you, you won't be that hard with you. And in that case, you will be able to see those mistakes for what they are, and not because what you did, or for your fault, maybe more objectively, I don't know, because you are not putting the like the like you are not putting the first, like, I don't know, the first fault, or the first like La Vista, the site, I don't know, and you are putting the your attention on the mistake or the thing that went wrong and not in you, on you. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I I think it doesn't work for me, at least. I don't know how that works. I'm more oriented towards the future for me. So I think the past is like whatever. Like like you can't change it. You can't like regrets. Like you can feel sorry or bad about something. Um, ask for forgiveness and all that, or receive forgiveness. But I don't think for me, I don't think it alters much. I think what counts is the future. Like if someone hurts you, it's what's gonna happen after that. What's gonna happen in the future? What are you going to do in order to heal yourself? What are you gonna start doing? Like I think for me, healing is in the future, not so much in the past. For me, it doesn't make sense to know like why something happened or what happened. Like that's just for me, that's just a waste of time. Um, but some people may need it because they. But see, I think like I also think I've thought a lot about my past. I constantly think about it, but I also think that it's not essential to heal. To heal, healing starts when when you start making plans for the future. Because until then, you're just stuck in that loop of the past, and that's just like depression, or I don't know.
Yeah,
That
because I think maybe this exercise that I told you about maybe is for people who are very like into their past. Yeah, and maybe I think we talked about it sometime, or I don't know, that maybe people that are depressed is most in the past, and maybe people that are more like with anxiety, maybe they are more worried about the future. Yeah, maybe my exercise is more like for people that maybe are suffering depression because they are most like in thinking about the past and the things that maybe that they could have changed, and maybe the things that they wanted to forget or forgive, I don't know. And maybe for you is not the right exercise because you suffer about other things that maybe your past is not like that important to you. Yeah, and maybe
yeah,
the past is not the things that I are that are that is causing you this your suffering, for example. But I think for me sometimes I try to be more
considering.
consider more myself, yeah, and being more patient and polite with myself because I think sometimes I'm very hard with myself. And in fact, when other people treat me like hard or they are like very strict with myself, with me, like, with me, and maybe on those cases, they are like triggering my suffering because I have this problem. And for me, this exercise maybe it helps me to to begin healing those like those things that make maybe are making me like suffering or feeling uncomfortable. But I don't know. And maybe for you, maybe exists other like exercise or thing that you maybe could do about the things that are worrying you. For example, your future.
Yeah, for me, planning really helps me. I wanted to just mention something that I had an idea of. I was actually on the way here, and I was thinking about how, like, our parents talking about the past, because when I talk about the past recently, I get angry because of my parents mostly, because like I see a lot of mistakes that they made, and one thing I noticed was like you mentioned just now, you are who you are because of your family, because of your past. Your past defines who you are now. And I was in class, for example, and I do this sometimes where I open the book and I'm teaching with the book open. And I remember I got that from one of like the best teachers that I had in the university, where this teacher would do the same thing. He would grab the book and teach like off the book, like that, like with the book, and talking and answering questions and explaining things while we did exercises. So like it clicked, and I said, your teachers, or there are certain people in your life when you were growing up or as a young adult in college or whatever, that influenced you almost like your parents, like your mom and your dad, right? And I think that's another thing where I get angry, because I say, my dad, for example, he would tell me a lot, like, you need to study, go to school, study, 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 right?
Hmm.
And now I say, like, kind of angry, yeah, you probably wanted me to study, because what do you do at school? You look at people like this, right? Teachers are models. They're people that are modeling you how to be people, right? So when you see other people, that helps you, because that makes you like a better person, or it at least gives you like models to follow, or ways to behave that will help you out later in life, that your parents can't and or didn't give you, right? And that kind of makes you angry, because it's like if you're a parent and you tell your kids, study, 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 because I'm nobody, I don't know anything, I'm not going to teach you anything, since I'm nobody and I'm like poor, I don't have the capacity to model for you like what an adult should be like, what a successful adult should be like, right? So go to school, and by chance or by luck, you'll see a teacher that will maybe help you out a little bit. Of course, a teacher is not a dad. They're not going to be there your whole 18 years. You see them for a semester or two, a couple hours a week, like whatever, that's nothing. But it made me think that you you copy certain things from certain adults while you were growing up that now help you, right? And it's kind of like parents are like um subcontratando, or they're freelancing these like responsibilities that they should do. They are the ones, and I think a lot of parents do that, especially like the rich parents. They do that with their kids. It's like you have to that's the other extreme. They do it to the point where they don't let the kid be themselves, and it's like, no, you need a balance. I don't think it's toxic to be a parent that's like, do whatever you want but study, like, but it's also toxic to be like Trump with his kids, like you have to be a business person, you have to be in politics when your kid wants to be fishing, and so it's like somewhere in between. That's I think an art. It's a whole deal, I think, to be a parent. But anyway, I think a lot of people take that responsibility as light. um I was gonna ask you something else, which well, there are two more questions. This is the first one. Is meditating the answer to things? Because what you were just explaining right now, like to heal, like let's say we both have different processes to heal, or to at least make ourselves feel better, with our pain or whatever. But at the end of the day, for me, meditating means not like sit there and go blank, but just like thinking, 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 not thinking obsessively, but like reflecting, um, organizing your thoughts, whatever. Do you think that's the answer?
Mm, yeah, I think it is a start because I think the key for for like begin to heal maybe is to talk with yourself, and maybe with this meditating thing maybe you can start to be with yourself and talk with yourself. Because I think a lot of people avoid thinking or talking with themselves because they don't want to face what is in their minds, because sometimes their minds are like a really fucked up place, so they don't want to deal with that, so they try to distract themselves with other things like internet, Facebook or Instagram or other things, listening to music or watching TV or whatever. So I think the key here is to start talking with yourself, and maybe when you are meditating, it is a way to start dealing with yourself. Like, I'm here listening to anything, just my mind and me, and maybe this is the time to start facing those like memories or those like things that I maybe wanted to express, but I have been avoiding for a long time. And maybe it's not like the meditating like as it is known. Maybe it's more like talk with yourself, and maybe I don't know, maybe some people would cry or laugh, or I don't know. It is not like this thing that you imagine when you are meditating, where you have your hands and your eyes are closed and whatever. Maybe it is more like just think about the things that are bothering you, and not avoiding them, because maybe when you start listening to yourself, that is the first step for you to start like having answers, or like having maybe uh like a think, or like maybe this first step to find the what is the problem with you, or what is that things that maybe are that those things that are maybe are bothering you, but you didn't even know that those things were bothering you, because you never listen to yourself. Because you are always like thinking about other things, other stupid things, or maybe other problems. But sometimes when you don't feel well with yourself, you just feel it. But a lot of people only feel those feelings, but never try to like find the root cause of those problems, because they don't want to face those problems, or they don't want to face themselves. So maybe I think maybe like meditating is the first step to start listening to yourself.
Yeah, I feel like it helps. Like today, I got to work like earlier because I had to do some stuff, and I finished them quickly. Well, I finished them fast because everything was done fast. And I had like 30 minutes, and I went to the third floor, and there's nobody usually at the third floor. And I just sat there and kind of like thought to myself, right, for like 30 minutes about different things. And then I got this idea to like start having English conversation classes. But again, my purpose or my happiness, I think, is always oriented towards the future.
Mm-hmm.
like the way that I heal, or the way that I start to organize, or be able to think clearer or whatever, is always when I start to get like that inspiration, like that spark of motivation, like, okay, but because it goes hand in hand. I think the question is well, the question was, is meditating the answer? But I think it should be more appropriate now to ask, is meditating the only answer? Because I don't think it is. Meditating uh is an answer, which involves, like, for me, for example, planning and then executing. So the next thing would be actions, like doing things
Yeah, it
that
is.
you. But I don't know if there are more. Do you think there are more?
I think there are more, and it depends on the person who wants to like heal. But it is a process. It is like you are saying. The first step is maybe like acknowledge the acknowledge you, yeah, and maybe start like thinking and talking with yourself. But the next step, maybe it is like, well, I have already think about these things, but what is the next step? Maybe try to find some things that I could do to get better. But I think maybe meditating is not like the only way to start thinking about your problems, or start like getting in touch with yourself, because many people like use things, for example art or music or writing their 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 feelings. For example, you can start writing what you feel, for example today and tomorrow, and maybe when you feel like you need to see what have you been doing, you can read all of those things that you wrote before, and maybe you can find some answers there. Yeah, because the point here is to start like watching yourself, and start like monitoreando, for
Yeah,
example,
monitoring.
monitoring all of those things that maybe are like making you feel uncomfortable, for example. And you can find many ways to do that, not only meditating or writing or whatever.
Yeah, I also think, like, when you talk to someone, that happens, like, just accidentally or
Mm-hmm.
naturally. So a dialogue with another person, I don't know, maybe watching a movie or a video or reading a book that makes you think about something of yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I agree. There are different ways. And the last question is, in life, how do you know whether something will work out or not? And I think this question is important because we tend to judge people a lot for the bad things they do, or for example, for things that they do where maybe it's a risk, or maybe it's like, I don't know, they're trying something and they fail, and we say, "Oh, you're so stupid. How could you not think of these things? Like, it's so obvious." So we all think we're better than others at making decisions and taking action, or are we not? Because that's like the question. Like, how do you know whether something will work out or not? Like, what criteria can you use when you're like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and I already, like they say, I dotted my I's and crossed my T's. Everything is checked. I did everything the way you're supposed to do it. But maybe it doesn't go how you planned, or maybe it does, or maybe sometimes you don't even plan something and it goes great or it goes bad. um, like, how do you know whether something will work out or not?
mm, I think maybe we have talked about this before, but sometimes get the things done, they are like 80% like work that you do, and maybe 10% like the circumstances that maybe could be on your favor, and the other 10% is luck. Yeah, luck, when you are lucky,
Mhm.
because sometimes you can do those things or those steps to get that shit done, like exactly how you wanted to do it, but sometimes maybe the circumstances or the luck is not on your favor, and that maybe that thing just fail, but it wasn't your fault. Maybe it is because not all of the things that you do are under your control, because there are many things that could go wrong. So you can do what you have to do in order to be successful on those things, but sometimes maybe, or I mean always, there are those factors, yeah, factors that maybe could get your things go like bad or wrong. So the question was about how do you know when those things are going to go well.
Mhm.
Well, you can like watch the result, or if you are like following some certain like steps, you can like watch each of those steps and maybe evaluate or monitoring if they are going like okay, but at the end of the day it doesn't like guarantee, yeah, that the whole project or the whole thing is going to go like you wanted to go, because of those reasons that I gave you before. So maybe I think for me the best thing that you can do is maybe just do what you have to do, and the other things that you can control maybe will like monitoring those things, but be like prepare, or maybe don't get sad if you see that maybe you weren't lucky enough to get it like you wanted to like to be, but I don't know.
Yeah, because well, the question is because we judge harshly
Oh yeah,
others.
yeah, because we are very like rude with other people, because we always think that maybe we can do better than them anything, but at the end of the day we are not on on those shoes, because maybe for me if I'm like having this situation and I watch other people with other situation, maybe easily I could say, oh, I would do it better, because I know that it has to be this way and this way and this way. But you have the advantage, yeah, the la ventaja, yeah, that you are seeing the picture of that problem that this person is having, like outside the problem, yeah. You have this perspective, yeah, perspective. But and maybe that people, because they are very stressed, very like tired working on that, they can't see that thing objectively, but I can see it. But maybe if I am in that position where I'm working on that situation, maybe it could happen the same to me that is happening to him or her, because when you are on the project or on the problem, maybe all of that doors close to you because you are like very stressed, very tired, very whatever, and you can't see the solution. And maybe other people, other perspective that are like fresh and they are have been like resting or whatever, they can see a clear solution, but you can't because you are in there, in the problem. And for other people it's like very easy to say, oh, I could do it better because I can see that this is the problem, this is the next step, and this could be like the solution. But we don't know, we don't know, because as I said, it is different when you are in the situation because it's not the same perspective, or it's not the same like circumstances.
Yeah, because, and I think that's part of why we judge, because we also may say like, how can you not see the big picture? How can you omit like all of the details? But I think it's tough too, because I imagine like a referee in a soccer game, or a player, no, like you're watching it on TV in your house relaxing, right? And you're like, wow, that referee's so
Yeah.
stupid, or that player is so stupid. But when you're like in a game, it's a whole different world,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like your attention is focalized. And I think like whether you're tired or not, when you're focalized, you're like in a specific like moment, right? So
Yeah.
you're not considering like
It
politics or
is,
all these other
for
things.
example, it just happened with the Mexican football players, with the leader Javier Aguirre, because he already had this interview where the woman asked him if why he didn't like put Morita more time on the game. Yeah, because for us it's very like obvious he's a good player, you should put him the whole partido, the
Game.
whole
Mhm.
game. Yeah, but he said, yeah, but he's just a teenager, he is like 17 years old, he can't like follow the whole game without getting tired because he's just a kid. And he saw that because he was like living with him, like watching him when he was training, and he knew that he couldn't like go the whole game because he would get tired. But we didn't know that. Yeah. And for us it's very like easy to say he would have been the whole game there and playing because he's like a machine, and we see that he's very good at playing soccer. But the leader, he saw other things that maybe we don't know, and for us it's very easy to judge and say he's a bad leader for the team and he sucks and he didn't put this and this and this player, and that is the reason why we lose this big game. But we don't know all the circumstances that maybe lead to that result, or lead to him to make those decisions. So for all of us it's very easy to say what would have been the best solution, but at the end of the day we don't know. And maybe, and I maybe could return to the first things that I said before, we have to be more like compasivos,
Compassionate.
with ourselves and with other people, because we don't know what they are thinking or what are those like reasons what they are like making this or that decision. Yeah. And be patient with other people and with ourselves, and maybe like understand that not all the things are under our control, and maybe make our peace with that, for example.
So the question there, that because earlier you said that we that are on the outside, we see the big picture and we see things more objectively,
Hmm.
but who then sees things more objectively? Would specifically like a referee or a coach like Javier Aguirre see things more objectively, or would we?
mm, Maybe you have to you have to like take all of these opinions and maybe meditate them and think, oh yeah, this can I can take, and maybe put it on like proof, or I don't know, or descartarlo. Yeah, because for example, Javier Aguirre, he knows, because he have been like working with these players, and maybe he knows them. Yeah, but sometimes like being all the time with them maybe could make you less objective, and in
Mm.
those cases you could take other opinions maybe, but you can't take them as as the truth, or as they are like the reality. You have to take those opinions and meditate them, and maybe like see, or and see maybe, oh, this is good, this is not, this thing is like total bullshit, or I don't know. Maybe no, like they say in Spanish, no echar en saco roto things. You can take other opinions, but you can evaluate them and see if they are truth or not, and not only get like mm, stuck in your own mind, because you may sometimes you need other opinions or other or I don't know.
Yeah, it makes me think like that which is objective is probably like considering everything,
Uh-huh,
considering
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Mora, but maybe even have next to you like a random audience member, like a random fan
Yeah.
that's there, like,
Be-
hey, the people, the public out there, everybody at their houses watching the game would want this, right? And or maybe like two or three of them, and then that's why I think the coaches in soccer games, they're not alone. They're there with other like
yeah,
sub coaches,
as a
right?
team you can make those decisions, but not only by yourself,
Yeah, I
because
mean, you make the final call or the
yeah,
final
yeah,
decision, but
but
you have a lot of voices.
you have to take all of those like situations or things that maybe could affect your results, and evaluate them, and then maybe check if something is good for you, or some information or some whatever, and take them, and maybe then just then make the decision, and not by yourself, but considering other opinions and other information.
Yeah. Just to finish, I wanted to go back to the thing you said about 80% work, 10% circumstances, and 10% luck.
Hmm.
I think for me, that was an interesting criteria. I think for me, it would go 20% luck, 30% work, and 50% circumstances. Although there is an interaction between, because I think of work as your individual self, right? Like what I do, what's in my control. And the circumstances is like the social factor. It's like the weather, other people's emotions, other people's moods, the geography, like the context, right? But there is certain manipulation that you can exert on the environment. Like I'll give you an example. Right now we're planning these online classes, asynchronous classes, and nobody did anything for communication. And I said, hey, like, can I make a channel for us to communicate in. So I did it, and I am the one that. So that's a little bit of me, my work influencing the circumstances. Of course, the circumstances are going to depend on the people. Ultimately, I can't make the people work or do things. But right now, I have gotten like positive responses, where they're saying, oh, yeah, like let's meet. They're proposing things. So it's going pretty well. But I think a huge amount of that is the circumstances. So it's like you can make your little plan, but man, if like luck
Yeah,
isn't on your side and other people aren't on your side, forget about
yeah.
it.
Now that you mention it, I think that I went like very crazy with that because I didn't mean it.
Uh,
Yeah, because I just throw those numbers because I was like putting some like example. But if you ask me, I think maybe 40 is work, get the work done. Maybe 30 is 30% is luck, and the other 30 are the circumstances. Because yeah, if you have your work done, but we have to be like realistic or whatever. Sometimes the luck or circumstances they have a lot of impact on your like on your project or the things that you wanted to do. But yeah, for me it's like 40, 30 and 30.
all right, yeah, that's interesting.
And can you repeat your numbers?
For me, it was luck 20,
Uh-huh.
work 30, and circumstances 50.
Mm,
For
yeah.
me, I think it
For you
depends
is
more on
for
people.
you more uh-huh.
I think that's part of my subjective experience because I think people are assholes. So they can even sabotage or bring you down, demotivate you. I mean, there's a like and of course you can say if I'm like SpongeBob and I'm always optimistic, well, it may even be 80%, 90% work. But since I'm not, I'm more like you say realistic, and if I see people, because I've seen it over and over again, where they just don't want to do the work, they don't want to, be responsible, they don't care, they don't get paid enough to care or whatever they say, which I've heard a lot of people tell me before, like they don't pay me enough to care to do a good job. Like, what are you what are you talking about? And that's where I think I'm a little bit extra, because I think I am. But yeah, I think for me it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're finished. Any last thoughts that you want to say?
No, I think that my last thought was um, the thing that I told you before about being more patient and maybe listen to yourself and listen to others when you are like getting stuck on your plans or your projects. Maybe another point of view could be helpful for the things that you want to do, because sometimes we get stuck on our own like thoughts that we can't see the big picture. But listen to others, but don't take their opinions like the truth. Just be objective with those opinions too.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Yeah, and for me it would be like plan. I think that's what all always makes you feel. That's what makes me like, and maybe other people feel happy too, like to have future projects, future plans, future considerations. But yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Peace.